Hi, and welcome back to another episode of The Arena, a show about mortgage, real estate, and the boots on the ground making it happen every day. Today on the show, we have a repeat guest, and one of my favorite guests, arguably, right? Tara Hendricks.
That's arguably.
Arguably.
Yeah.
Welcome. Thanks for being on again.
Thanks for having me.
You know, the last time we talked, and just for our viewers today, I just want to recap your journey because I was thinking about it driving over here. You started off as a daycare owner, and now you run a real estate team and brokerage, which arguably requires the same skills.
It does, except for the fact that the children were easier to deal with.
Well, that's a good point.
Right.
I mean, we don't have diapers though, right? So
No,
at least
we
you don't have that.
That's a good thing.
Although I know some of these agents are getting up there in age, so
They
maybe
are.
different kind of diaper. But yeah, to walk me through the journey here. And I mean, to go from that, I just found it fascinating. You were in a totally different profession. And I think a lot of people out there that are thinking about getting into real estate, they're doing something totally different. But what was it that you were like, I got this. I could definitely do real estate. And going from that to actually implementing it, what did you do?
So I owned the daycare before I had kids, so it was fun. You know, it was other people's children. I loved it. I loved kids at the time. Then I had my own, and they went through the school with me, and it became a little bit less fun. I was dealing with a lot of parent problems, a lot of lawsuits in daycare too. So I think I just got tired and I was bored. And I didn't close the daycare when I started real estate either. I kept it open for 3 years, and I hired a manager to run it. It kind of ran like a ship. It was like perfect until I left. And then we had more lawsuits, and I decided to close it and get into real estate.
And where there's all sorts of other fun lawsuits, but we won't get into that yet. But no, seriously, when you got into, because there's so many people that want to get into real estate that have no experience, but they know they're good with people, I guess. Is that what?
I mean, I knew I was good with people. My brother had been a real estate agent for about 15 years when I started, and my father's in construction, so we bought properties from the time we were 20. You know, my dad always said invest in real estate. I always liked listening to it. I knew it would be good at it. And managing people was something I already did. So, you know, I always had a staff at the daycare center, mainly women, not men. So that was like a new thing for me, having male realtors.
Easier or tougher to manage?
Different. They're very different. Like their expectations are very different than female realtors. I think that they want an instantaneous money when they come in, when they start.
Well, isn't that what everyone does?
They do.
They get into it and then aren't they rich immediately?
I mean, you would think, but it takes some time to like actually get to a space where you're making money and you're not worried about every closing.
So you get into real estate. I know that at first you were just kind of getting the lay of the land, but then I feel like within, how many years are you in right now?
I just started my 9th year.
Which, if you know a good realtor, most of them are throwing out numbers like 20, 30 years. It takes that long to build up their book of business, their sphere, their database. So how is it within 9 years you're doing how much now?
So we just, I think it was yesterday, finished, we closed out 47 million. I think we'll be at like 55, 56 this year.
And then last year, I think you were over 40, right?
A little over 40. Mm-hmm.
So 40 million, 50, almost 60 million, it keeps going up. What is it that you're doing on a day-to-day basis to continue to grow?
Well, I mean, you have to have definitely, which I just did this week, a business plan, you know, what you're adding into it every year to make more money. I find that I have to let go of things and hire people. That's basically
Delegate.
Not easy for me at all because I think I do everything great, you know? So I also think systems and the right people surrounding you.
Well, might as well jump into the systems, right? Because I know a lot of people, look, business in general requires process, systems, and more now technology. So what is it about your team and the way you're running things that you're leveraging that technology?
So, I mean, everything we do has a system. You know, it's not just the CRM. It's like the way an offer is put in. There's templates for everything. You know, I have one person that controls all of the paperwork, which really helped. I think that when I wasn't doing that, it was a nightmare.
Shout out to Alex and Heather for managing the team too, right?
They're both amazing. They both, I think, I said the other day, run my whole life and make me look good, which is true in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So speaking of lawsuits, we had the NAR lawsuit come out. And if people don't know what that is, National Association of Realtors got sued basically, and there were a lot of changes in the industry. There's a lot of agents right now that are looking to make a move. And I know because I talk to a lot of them every day.
I do too.
And what is it if you could just talk to agents right now? I mean, we talk a lot about buyers, sellers, everything, but this is for agents.
Right.
If they're looking to make a move, because you've been at several companies just in the 9 years you've been doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a pretty unique perspective. You've been recruited and you've onboarded, and then at some point something hits you where you're like, this isn't it. Right. So what do you think? What should they be looking for and what shouldn't they be looking for? What's important? What's not as important?
I mean, I think right now the brand is extremely important, like where you are. And I think that every agent's different. I grow a team, so I need to be in a brokerage that is susceptible to that. They have systems in place for my team, caps and so on, things that you're going to be able to use to build them up. Right now I have a lead buyer specialist and I have a lead listing specialist, and I'm putting agents under them. Where I am, it makes it easy to do that. I can break down the cap a different way. I have more flexibility to do that, whereas in previous brokerages, I didn't have that.
So you're leaving money on the table with other brokerages.
I was. Definitely for running a team in past decisions, I left a lot of money on the table.
All right. So what about the agents that say, it doesn't matter the brokerage, doesn't matter the name, people know me and I'm the brand, and it doesn't matter where I am, I'm building up my reputation?
I think right now with everything that being so televised, like with the NAR lawsuit, you have a lot of buyers and sellers being weary of realtors. And I think having a bigger brand behind you that has a great reputation is way more important than it's ever been.
The name recognition.
Yes.
Yeah. Kind of helps support everything you're saying.
It does, because if, I do believe in my own name, as, other bigger realtors do as well. But I think right now there's so much speculation on real estate in general. It's better to be with a bigger brand.
So I've talked a lot about the lawsuits and the changes in the industry. You're somebody that I know for a fact has gone through the classes. You've learned everything there is to know about the law, and it is a law, right?
It is a law.
I think a lot of people don't realize that.
That's your first point.
And I wanted you to just break it down when you're meeting with a new buyer and just trying to give set expectation on what to expect moving forward. What do you tell them, and how do you get this implemented and signed?
So for one, in this state, you cannot see a property without a signed buyer's agency agreement. It's an agreement that you have to sign to see a property. Every agent in the state has to use them.
New Jersey, by the way.
Right. I thought I said New Jersey now. Anyway, absolutely have to sign it. It's just like a listing agreement. You can cancel it at any time. I find that when you take the fear out of the agreement, people love it. I think sincerity is everything. I always tell my team, make sure they know we want you to like me. I want to like you. We want to have a great working relationship. And when you feel that way, it's going to make me feel good. You're going to feel great. Caring about the buyer a little bit. So letting them know that they can cancel when they're not happy. I mean, you can cancel a listing agreement when you're not happy too. So
I don't think a lot of people realize that. I think they think when I sign that agreement for X number of months or days or whatever it is, they are locked in ironclad. That's not the case.
That's not true. You can cancel it at any time. If there's any properties that, this particular agent showed them, they have 10 days to respond after they cancel it. Let them know the properties that they actually showed them, because there is compensation on the table for those properties that were shown.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people are just confused too on who's paying what. So if you could break down what has changed dramatically in your eyes, or has not a lot changed as far as the negotiation when you're putting in an offer for a listing?
I think that people are looking at this whole scenario as a negative, and it's really not a negative. I like to advocate for myself. I think I sell better for myself than I do for anyone else. I never really understood why I would go in a listing appointment and I'm negotiating the compensation for a buyer's agent. Why aren't they doing that? I think that what is happening is sellers are still paying to a certain degree, because I don't think that the world, let alone New Jersey, was prepared for this to roll out the way that it did. I don't know what it will look like in a year from now, but I get a lot of offers on listings. They're all asking for the buyer's compensation to be covered. I've noted that some of the offers that are asking for the highest compensation are higher. So I really think it comes down to what is the seller netting at the end of the day, and then the buyer pays the rest.
Now, as a lender, talking about when we're trying to negotiate commissions here,
Right.
we're talking about money.
I know.
And if you want to get aggressive as a buyer's agent putting in an offer, you can now have your buyer pay for some of your commission. So it ends up netting the seller more, which is the whole point here. Hey,
Right.
if the seller nets more on your offer than another offer, they may just take your offer, right? But from a lender's perspective, A, you got to have the money to back it up, right?
Absolutely.
And so, and B, that house needs to appraise. And I think a lot of people undervalue the lender's role and even the agent's role in that appraisal. If you have an online lender, they're going to send whoever they can out there and probably not pay that appraiser as much money as maybe a local lender would.
Right.
Well, think about it. If you're not from the area, you're not getting paid as much from this particular lender. Are they going to put all their time and energy into making sure that that house is going to appraise? What if it comes in 10, 20 grand less? So I think from a lender's perspective, it's really important to surround yourself with the right team.
Absolutely. Speaking, I'm a listing agent, so I see every lender in creation. I see every type of an offer. I had one recently where I accepted an offer from an agent that used a local lender, accepted the offer, went under a contract, and somewhere in the middle, they decided to switch to an online lender. And the appraisal happened.
Now, we don't name names here on the
No.
arena, but does it rhyme with schmocket?
It
Schmortgage?
does. It does.
Okay.
It does.
Yeah.
Which I would never suggest that you accept. So they sent out a non-local appraiser, and it came in $40,000 late.
Oh my God.
And there was a North Jersey attorney on the deal, and we were represented by a South Jersey attorney, and they wanted my seller to reduce $40,000. So we said no.
And for those of you going, what's the difference between North and South? It's like Hatfields and McCoys.
It is. It is very different.
They don't read the same language here. They don't
Right.
speak the same language.
I mean, my whole thing there was you chose to switch to an online lender,
And did that online lender help try to get the value up?
No, we weren't even allowed to talk about the appraisal or send anything in. There wasn't really anyone to contact. So we couldn't assist in raising the price of the home.
Whereas with a local
it.
lender, just to compare, when you're dealing with a local lender, what is that process?
So that process is, I analyze the appraisal. I look at the comps that they use. I see if there's something that they could have missed or another comp that would have been better suited to use. If there's anything about the property that I know that they do not know, appraisers are open to that. I'm the listing agent. I know the most about the property. I'm the one that is signing after all the seller's disclosure too. And they're open to that, but it doesn't help you if you can't speak to them or if you can't speak to the lender to put something into the appraiser to change it.
And a lot of people don't realize the appraisal is just the opinion of that appraiser. So when they come in low, well, that's their opinion. Maybe they did miss something.
Right.
So you're saying when they're going with these online lenders, you're not given the ability of doing that. And then, so what ended up happening? Are they just eating the 40,000?
So I also, in this case, had an appraisal of another home in the development that came in
And you couldn't even
pretty
share.
high. And I couldn't use the appraisal at all because it was an online lender. So it really didn't help. We ended up not coming down in price. And ultimately, it took some time, but the buyer came up to $40,000 and brought it.
Yeah. And well, how many other offers did you have?
We had numerous offers.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you have that situation, there's really no leverage on the buyer's part.
There is not.
And so them switching from the one local lender to that online lender, probably to save a minimal amount of interest rate, I would imagine, maybe 0.25%. What did that end up costing them?
I mean, it considerably cost them because I would have had the property appraised. I wasn't concerned about it.
So speaking of stories, I think right now I talk a lot about this situation in the lending world where you have these large corporate online lenders that are spending a fortune on advertising and trying to lower their rates to a point where people are going to call them, right?
Right.
Because that's the thing people see. What are you going to do to compare lenders? Nobody really knows. It's just the rate. Oh, and of
Right.
course fees.
Right.
Rates and fees. So they're shopping around, and I love that. I want people to shop, but it seems like they're getting kind of fed a lot of BS, right? So
They really are.
you had a story recently where you had a buyer pre-approved with Maximus Mortgage, and in the middle of it, they switched.
Right. So you pre-approved them, and they had a considerable amount of debt that needed to be paid off, according to your pre-approval. The buyer was not happy with that. They didn't want to pay off the debt.
And just to clarify, it had something to do with debt ratios.
Debt ratios,
yeah.
right. So some credit card debt, he needed to pay that off. He didn't want to do that. So he went to a bank that he had
Again, we don't name names here, but it may have rhymed with Schmelz Schmargo, right?
Yes.
Schmelz.
It may have. So he had previously did business there. They told him that he could be pre-approved and did not have to pay those credit cards off. And I definitely, and it was a better quote unquote rate at the time. I did have a conversation and I explained, I'm pretty sure you're going to end up having to pay these off. I think that I very rarely, seen you give a pre-approval where something's been that off.
Right.
So we got straight through, and we also found out that the other bank forgot.
Schmelz, you can
Yes,
call it.
Schmelz. They forgot about the solar bill, and there was a solar addendum on the contract. So that also was not included in his totals. So long story short, he had to pay off all the debt that you had originally said, and he paid a much higher rate and fees. And we also had to extend the closing by 3 weeks, which cost him a lot of money because he could have been working on the house because he had a rent back scenario on the house that we had sold, and he ran out of time. So now he had to live in construction as well.
Yeah, and I think that for anyone listening, we're never trying to scare you into doing something. There's a lot of laws around steering. We never want to put anyone in a situation where they're paying more, they're getting a worse rate, they're being put in a worse situation. But I think real estate, for someone that doesn't buy and sell every day, and even someone that's bought maybe, an investment here and there, a house here and there, but hasn't gone through the process in several months or a few years, it's complicated. And every deal is different, and every deal comes with its own challenges.
I mean, I think that's why I'm a little bit confused as to why people just don't trust their realtor. I mean, we close properties every day. We sell properties every single day. List, buy properties. We see all of the good, all of the bad, all of the people that we use in the industry that work and all the ones that don't. So I would think that you would trust in that, but it doesn't always happen.
Well, one of my favorite conversations with a new buyer is, look, I know you don't do this every day. I know that in a perfect world, you could buy and sell houses every day throughout the year, try out every lender, every title company, every home inspector, every homeowner's insurance company, every contractor, right? And you get to see who's full of shit and who isn't,
And
who's
isn't.
really good and who's
Right.
not. And I let them go, yeah, well, that would be amazing. I go, well, what do you think your realtor is?
It's true.
That's what your realtor does.
I mean, it took me a long time to build a team of affiliates, who I thought were the best of the best, who got the job done, that I believe in, and I think that it would be great if every time we got a buyer or so, they just listened. That would be great. Perfect world.
Well, some people, they like that control, right?
They do.
And in a process that's so big, I know that I like to be in control of things, and you kind of have to let Jesus take the wheel. Let Tara take the wheel. That's what you should. We need to get bumper stickers.
Yeah. Let me just take over, and I will give you a great path to closing your home.
But to be fair too, the media and just everyone's perception right now of realtors is they open doors, they do a little bit of paperwork, which isn't hard, and then they get paid a lot of money. So think about that perception going into someone you don't know, and they don't really know what your people really don't know what your value is.
Right.
What are some of the questions you think people need to ask as they're looking to hire a realtor?
I think they need to, you really don't have to ask, you know? You can look online, you can pretty much see what a realtor sells monthly. I mean, it's updated, you know, on all those places that we don't like to look or use, you know. You can see someone's sales rate. Most really great realtors will have a review sheet to send you. So you have reviews from other sellers and buyers. And you want to know that they're in the area that you're looking, because an expert in the area is pretty important. You know, they know. I mean, there's certain areas in New Jersey that have historic areas. Like a realtor will know that. You know, they're going to know what you're going to be involved in once you purchase the property. So I think like the location, the amount of homes that they sell, I think that teams are trending because I think that they like having a team behind them. It's not just one person. You know, someone's going to answer your call. You know, someone's going to handle all the paperwork and make sure that everything's done properly. So I think that a lot of that stuff you can find out just by Googling a realtor.
Yeah. Well, and also a realtor, some specialize in just buyers, some mostly listings. But I would say, speaking of team, you know, so think about all the listings that you have at any given time. How many do you have now?
I mean, they don't last very long. So
over the last couple months,
yeah,
you've had a couple dozen, right?
We did, right. I mean, I think this year we're on track to close out about 85 listings.
So you figure you have all these listings and you're constantly getting offers, hundreds and hundreds of offers.
Right.
You get to see how the offers come through, what kind of tactics or strategies are they using.
Right.
And so now flip that onto the buy side. Now, don't you kind of know what that listing agent should be looking for? Does it give you an advantage?
I always know. I mean, I always know exactly, you know, especially when you work in the area and you know the other agents. I mean, I know that most agents probably know the way that I list. You know, I'm listing.
These are agents that want you to accept their offer.
Right.
So now it's vice
listing,
versa.
You know, it's a seller's market. So you're going to list it, a good agent's going to list it around right where it's going to appraise. You know, drive it up. I mean, that's what a seller's market is.
Yeah.
You know, that's what the goal to it is. But the good news is properties are still rising, you know, and I don't really see when that's going to go the other direction. I think we have some time.
So we have an election coming up and a lot of people are nervous always around these election times, right?
I know.
But just talking about values, because I think that's what, over the last 4 or 5 years, really beyond that, people just saw a tremendous explosion of wealth. I was just talking about how right now we have $35 trillion in equity in this country. $35 trillion. We also probably have $35 trillion in debt. But that's another thing.
That's another whole thing.
But somebody locally, you're in New Jersey, Philly, this region right here, Delaware, whatever. What are you seeing, and what's kind of your short and long term forecast? Somebody buying right now, are they going to get screwed? And that's all they want to know, right?
Right. Well, it would be impossible because, you know, we just kind of looked at New Jersey as a whole, numbers. I looked through a lot of reports, and the inventory is so low that it would take 4 years to even come close to it switching towards a buyer's market.
And to be clear, in a buyer's market, values tend to go a little lower. Seller's market, they go up.
So anything you're buying right now is going to, whether you're paying $30,000 over appraised value, you probably make that up in a year, maybe more.
Well, and the average appreciation is about 4 to 5%. Average. Okay, we went crazy. The 1 year was 20%, then it was 15%. And if people are thinking they missed the boat, what do you tell them?
I mean, they didn't miss the boat. You know, this state is also, you know, everyone today, when we were looking at like all of the charts that came out, everything that is going on in New Jersey, you're really a relocation state at this point too. I mean, you're living in a place where you have two major cities connected to you that supply jobs. You have the beach an hour away. You have skiing an hour away. We don't love the taxes, right? But it's not a natural disaster area either. So we have a lot of relo business that's coming in, and we do not have a lot of supply. I'm not sure how that switches to a buyer's market. And I would love to say that the rates matter, but I don't really think that they do in this scenario.
Well, they'd probably have to go so low, which probably isn't going to happen again, at least for a very long time.
No. And actually, I hope that it does not.
Well, yeah.
Because it's hard to beat that and to like get past that. And then you have so many people that do want to sell their homes, or they're in the middle of a divorce and they can't refi someone's name off of a home because of how low the rate was. They're taking on debt if they're going to do that.
Well, it's a good point. I think a lot of people bought a house maybe prior to COVID or right around COVID. They have a lot of equity, right? But their rate's also low.
Right.
And so for them they want to upgrade, but now they're like, well, if I upgrade, now my rate's higher. I'm paying way more of a house. I know this is a conversation you have all the time.
That's a huge amount of trepidation. That's one of the reasons our inventory is low.
So what advice are you giving those people?
It's a good question. I mean, the property value is like the biggest thing. I mean, right? If you have a ton of equity in your home, when are you going to have that again?
And this is also where the whole date the rate, marry the house came into, right?
I mean, you have people that bought a home last year and it's worth like close to $100,000 more right in this area. It's literally crazy. I mean, I've sold a bunch of them, but there's just not enough people willing to get rid of that rate.
Well, let's talk about we were talking about a story. You had a seller who needed to buy as well. When he was selling, he was taking advantage of this market. But as a buyer, he didn't seem to get it.
No. So we sold a 2-bedroom condo in a town nearby. And in 2 days, we got him $55,000 over ask.
Oh, my God.
Covering the appraisal value. And I had done one in that development the week before, exact same scenario, which is why he hired me, right? So now he's putting offers in. And he's going under asking price 2 days on market when he has a contingency.
He's contingent on selling.
Yes.
So
but
even though he's under
sold,
contract.
but we didn't close, but he's still contingent.
Sure.
So we've explained several times to him, you have a contingency. You should be looking at things that are a little older on market because most people aren't taking a contingency on day 2. They want to see there's too many offers. I had 27 offers on that property.
Oh my God, the one that he sold.
Yes. 2 bedrooms.
So he's 55 over ask on the sale, which he should be so happy about. But then on the buy side, what was he doing?
He's putting in lower offers than the list price, asking us to call and see if they'll jump at that, is what he says. So, I had the hard conversation that we've explained to you, you're going to do the same thing when it comes to purchasing. You have to have some skin in the game. You're going to pay over appraisal value.
Well, and you're playing with house money now.
Right.
55 more than he thought he was going to get.
The only time you're getting anything lower is if the agent lists it incorrectly. So if they list it too high and it's sitting. We use coming soon often. If I list a coming soon, for instance, I put one coming soon this morning. It's live Friday. I already have showings for Friday within 1 hour.
So it lines up your buyers so that way you could be as efficient as possible when it goes live.
I mean, that's technically was the reason for coming soon. You're deciding if the price is correct before you bring it live. So if you don't get showings, then something's wrong.
Well, it seems like you're not doing much wrong, Tara Hendricks.
It's debatable.
And I just want to thank you for coming on. I know it's just been crazy. You're trying to not only run your team, but you're the broker of Main Street, Keller Williams.
I am.
Located in Collingswood.
Which is a lot of fun. I love that place. It's been an adventure with all the NAR lawsuits and being there for the agents, but I love it.
Well, I think that it seems the dust is settling.
A little bit.
And really, I would say it seems if I'm looking to buy or sell, and I'm sitting with an agent that can't explain to me what the lawsuit is really about. They can't explain to me what I'm signing with this buyer's agency agreement. I'm probably dealing with the wrong agent.
You definitely are.
So if someone wants to get a hold of you, What's the website? What's the best way?
So our website's homekeyreg.com. And on there's my phone number, email address. You can reach me.
And on Instagram, social media?
NJ Realtor Tara.
NJ Realtor Tara. Or Tara Hendricks on Facebook.
Or Tara Hendricks. Well, it's NJ Realtor there too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you watching today. We'll be back next time. And good luck this year.
Thanks.
See ya.